Hello everybody and welcome to the ninth round of the Tail Racing Ring Runners in Season 10. It's time for the most popular class of all, the GT3s. I say that because we've got the most entries of any round we've had so far this season. I'm very confident we'll have at least 19, maybe even 20 getting on the grid for this race. We're at the 24-hour layout of the Nurburgring Nordschleife, and that is going to leave us just over 8-minute laps that Jason Hightower, unsurprisingly, has done the best of in qualifying. It's myself, Ewan, and James Parfitt with me for this round of the championship again. And I know you're not the biggest fan of this class in the world, but there is great variety of different manufacturers on the grid. And one thing we absolutely can't complain about is the amount of drivers we've got for this race.
No, I think numbers and the fact that we've got 20 is great, right? I'm not a lover of the GT3s. It's not because I don't like the cars or I don't like the racing. It's just the fact that there's too many, right? When you have to physically go out and extend a session number just to allow more cars in that you are producing, when there's constantly other series that could do with updated cars, that for me is a problem. But look, you know, it's all part of the money-making wheel that makes us go round.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't mind it as much, but there you go. We'll get that out of the way at the beginning. Jason Hightower has taken the pole position, as I say, for this race, the GT3 round of the Tail Racing Ring Runners. He's alongside Evan Crowd with Dean Diltz in third, alongside Dave Hernandez. Stephen Johnson's got the best time in the AMS. He's ahead of Matt Green, Dave Mull and Dan Kosick before you get to second place in the AMS Pat Mage. Steve Kube rounds out the top 10 overall with Scott Sadler and Tim Watchout sharing row 6. It's Chase Petterjohn in 13th ahead of Anthony Solomon, with Corey Stas, the first of those not to set a time, alongside Anthony Serino, Gideon Paré, Christopher Heron, John Amico and Dylan Hesslink rounding out the field. And as I said earlier, I'm confident we're going to get at least 19. The reason I'm not confident in Anthony Serino is because he didn't actually set off at all in qualifying. The others who didn't qualify at least tried. So I hope that we're going to get all 20, but for the moment, Serino and Hesslink are not onto the grid just for the moment. We'll wait to see if they get there. In terms of the championship, it's no surprise that Jason Hightower is leading the way. Currently, his gap is 32 points at the top of the pro standings, ahead of Dave Mull. There you go, 252 to 220. That's 32 points anyway.
You're right there, mate.
The gap. Yeah, I've got a stutter. Evan Crowd is in third position, just under 40 points behind. Dan Kosick next in line as well, before you get to Corey Stas, who's missed a round so far this season. These are points total, by the way. We haven't added drops yet. It is Scott Sadler, just outside the top 5, then Dean Diltz, who has missed 3 rounds. Then you get to Dave Hernandez, who has missed 3 also. And then you get to those down towards the bottom who have missed more than those 3 rounds that you can really get away with. In the AM standings, it is still unbelievably close between Pat Mage and Stephen Johnson. 8 points now, the gap. What a season we're having between those two. Anthony Solomon is in third place ahead of Tim Watchout by only a point. Steve Kube is next, and he is already the first of those who's missed more rounds than he can really get away with. Dylan Hesslink has only missed 3, though, as has Christopher Heron, rounding out that section of the field. Then, as I say, you get to those who have missed quite a few rounds so far this season. As I feared, Anthony Serino and John Amico didn't get onto the grid. However, they are on pit lane from what I can see in the session, so it does look like we are going to get all 20, even if not all of them want to start from on the circuit.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love it when we get more cars. Funny how we get more in the GT3s though, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, it's just one that definitely everybody owns. When you look back at some of the others we've had this season, like Pro 2 Lite, for example, or even Radical SR8s, not everybody owns all these cars.
Yeah, I see your point. Guy's been bonkers. I think if you put, what did Dave Anders tell me to put into Discord? I think he told me to type in GT3 into their general chat and see what it comes up with. When I was doing the podcast with him the other week. So, yeah, they don't like GT3s in the series either.
Okay, fine. But at least we have got a good entry, and we are going to have a good race, at least, with these cars. So many manufacturers involved. Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Acura, Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, Ford and Audi, all involved. Is that all of them? I'm not sure. But anyway, a lot of them on the circuit, all out there together, and it's going to be fantastic to watch as Jason Hightower brings us to the green flag, as he has done on so many occasions this season. He's doing it for the second week in a row now, after doing it in the LMP2s just 7 days ago. Out onto the start-finish line and underway now for Jason Hightower. He gets us to the green flag here for 4 laps of racing, as always, in the tail racing ring runners. It's Evan Crautard into second position, but diving down the inside, Dean tilts in towards turn number 1. He's going to comfortably get through on the outside though, Crautard, and it's going to be Dilts on the outside for the second part as the gravel is strewn across the circuit through that first chicane. It's a very clean first chicane as well for the opening lap of this race.
Yeah, everybody looks like they've got through without any major troubles towards the back end. Anthony Sereno and John Amico have just come out of pit lane. They're starting off their ventures. Pat Misch locked in with Dan Kosick. Of course, he's chasing down Stephen Johnson in the championship. Pat leading at the moment by 8 points, but Stephen is up the road in 6th place here as well. One of the interesting facts, I want to see how the Porsche gets on. We know what the situation is with the Porsche. Everybody can tell me the Porsche does Porsche things, but we'll find out how the Porsche gets on here as well, because it's going to be very interesting, I think.
Yeah, we certainly will, as they come over the top of the hill now through the Schumacher S. Hightower leading from Crautard from Dilts at the front end of the field. But as you say, Stephen Johnson's a very interesting one there, leading in the AMs at the moment. And Pat Misch as well, stuck very much in the midfield. And he's just dropped for a moment, and he will drop back into ninth position again. He won't have any problems. But he's got Steve Coubet right behind him here as Pat Misch, and that could be a real problem for him in that battle for ninth position. He let Dave Mull through, and I do understand why he would have done that, because he doesn't want pros interfering in the AM battle, but he did have that car buffer between himself and the rest of the AM field. Now he doesn't have that anymore. He's got to fight on his own, fight back from Steve Coubet in that Mustang. Yeah,
he's got to try and just hold Coubet back. I think Coubet's, I don't know how this is going to suit the Mustang, Ewan. It doesn't like corners in a way, and there's 154 of them ahead of him currently, so I'm not entirely sure how this Mustang's going to go here. In fact, I'm a little bit more worried about how it's going to go, whether or not it will be okay, but we're going to have to find out here what Coubet's going to be able to do. He's got Chase Pettijohn in behind him in the BMW, Corey Stas didn't watch out in the BMs as well. It was great to see a little bit of an influx of BMWs. Hernandez in the BM leading the way up front. Hightower, however, in that Mercedes, just out the front, dominating at the moment.
Absolutely. He's out front as you'd expect, really. Out front by some margin at the moment as they now make their way down the straight and over the top of the hill at Flugplatz there, over the right-hander, the really fast right-hander at higher speed. Mustang does look very planted and does look very strong, and here comes Coubet on the back of Mesh. There's Pettijohn and Stas in the background as well. There goes Coubet on the outside. Oh, that's a squeeze. And Mesh wasn't going to let him do that. Meanwhile, the two BMWs side by side, Stas and Pettijohn through Schwedenkreuz. And it is Stas who gets through into 11th position. He's got a lot of work to do here today, don't forget. He didn't qualify, and so he's working his way through all of the AMs.
Yeah, he's just going to have to try and make his way through without any dramas here, Corey Stas. I think it's just utilising what he's got in front of him. That BMW is strong. We know that as well. It can ride the curbs really well. It isn't really, considering it's not been updated as much as some of the others, like the Audi Evo and New Cars, Mustang, Corvette, McLaren obviously coming in as well. And the BMW's just been left alone, but it's still quite strong here in this group of cars. And we'll see how Stas can handle this.
Oh, it looks Retzgersfeld as a peak, but he doesn't go for it on the way into the left-hander on that occasion. Coubet can keep that 10th position just for the moment as they turn left and right again through down the hill now at Callenhard. Stas just having a difficult season so far, I think it's fair to say. He's been on the podium 3 times, but hasn't won yet this season, mainly because Hightower's been taking all the wins, I suppose. But it's been a great season for Hightower, less so from Stas, who was really up there last season, battling for the title. Less so this time round, and this qualifying is certainly set him back. That was Coubet getting really close to Mace there through the siphon, and that's going to give Stas a good run now down in towards Exmuller, but looks right, looks left, he's not going to be able to get through here. Oh dear, nearly hits him as well in towards Exmuller.
Yeah, he's going to be a little bit careful, Corey Stas. It's a difference in speed between himself and Coubet. Coubet wants to go forward onto Pat Misch and Stas needs to clear him. Is he going to run this, get this run out of Bergwerk on the run up into the carousel, though, to be able to get that car alongside? It's going to be interesting to see what the drive situation is, and I think Corey Stas is going to be the first one to show us what it's like.
Yeah, up the hill here, it's going to be very interesting. He looks to the right now, and he's already pulling alongside here on the way through Castleton. That is going to be easy as you like by the looks of things for Corey Stas through in the BMW, and expected really as he works his way forward. The worry for Cube is going to be about Petterjohn here getting through as well. The double toe on the way into the left-hander. He has a peak. He's just alongside. No, not quite alongside on this occasion. And Cube keeps 11th position. I think these cars in a way maybe slightly too fast for moves up there. Although having said that, we did see side by side at that corner in the LMP2s last week, so maybe we will later in the race.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how Dilts gets on here. That Porsche not renowned for his top speed, and he's coming into one of the most difficult parts of the circuit, going onto the Dotting Hoe as well in a little while. But I think he's in a good spot at the moment because of where he is on track. There's a lot of corners coming up for him. Whipperman's in there, Brunchen's in there, you know, so there's lots of things that Dean Dilts can use the nimbility, I don't even know if that's a word, of the Porsche to be able to do that. But Corey Stas at the moment, Pat and Maish all under heaps of pressure.
Nimbleness? I don't know.
You know
That's a word either.
I don't know. Nimbility. Whatever it is. Close enough.
Yeah, well, I know what you meant anyway. 5 positions up so far for Corey Stas, by the way. That is the most in the field. Of course, John Amico and Anthony Serino are going to gain more than that, but they are yet to join the rest of the field on our tower. They will do later. We know that Sadler has dropped to the very back of the field. He is currently running down in last position, I'm pretty sure. And so we will check in later with Amico and Serino as to see how far they're getting through the field a bit later. But it's Corey Stas who's making the moves right now. As I say, 5 positions made already, which over a lap of the Nordschleife is quite impressive really. Over a normal circuit, that's over an overtake per lap at the beginning of a race like this. So that is pretty impressive from Corey Stas. And he's surely going to be making another one here as well. Whether it's going to be on the straight or before then, I'm not sure, on Pat Mace, who's currently running in 9th.
I would hope that he would do it on the straight. I don't think he needs to do anything before that. Dave Mole's also another one in that Lamborghini. I don't really see many of the Lamborghinis wrecked at the moment, but they seem to be coming out the woodwork the last couple of broadcasts I've done with GT3s involved, and there's been Lambos in there. I'd be interested to see what sort of top speed they've got against the cars in behind with the McLaren and the BMW. I think it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, lots of different manufacturers to compare straight down speeds with here as Steve Kube's got off the road, unfortunately, and we'll again have a look at that at the end of the race as always. But not a great run from Mull onto the straight here, so he's quite a long way behind the Ferrari. Won't be picking up too much of a slipstream, but Stas certainly will be. He's into the back of the McLaren here. Is he going to bump draft down the straight maybe and get into the back of Pat Mace, or is he going to try and come through here? Because he knows that when he pulls out here, Mace is going to continue getting the slipstream from Mull, and he's not going to Corey Stas. So this is going to be very short-lived, I think, or maybe not. He's going to get straight back through here, and actually he is going to be given the slipstream by Mull. I thought the McLaren would be able to stand up to the BMW a little bit more there, but Stas ends the first lap in 9th place after starting down in 15th.
Yeah, I think setups have got a lot to do with that one, low, medium or high. Let's not forget it is open in these classes until we get to Duck Week. So I think the setup played a part, and to be honest with you, Ewan, this season as it's gone, we've clearly seen setups play a massive part as well. People say they don't do a lot, they don't do this. Unfortunately, there are value explanations that they actually do here, especially when it comes to downforce at this track. I think it was the LMP2 was a visual effect that you could actually see here. Parrot going in there. Hooray. Yeah, if we want to say it in like a French accent, Perret. There with Anthony Solomon, they've just swapped places, but Stassen is now climbing over the back of Dave Mole.
He doesn't have a flag to his name, which is that what makes it difficult. Have we got a flag for Parry? We'll be able to
get on that now.
Yeah, we'll be able to tell a bit more easily how to say that name with that. But anyway, some pit stops at the end of the first lap, as you can see. Anthony Serino in, and Scott Sadler as well. So, couple of early problems for them and they'll get damage repaired as Corey Stas is now trying to make moves on some of the pro drivers who score points on an overall basis in this series. And so there has been points gained throughout the whole of today so far for Corey Stas, but now it's time to overtake some people actually in his class, starting with Dave Mull, who is in 8th position and certainly under pressure early on here.
Would you believe it? They've taken out places in profiles. Can't tell you where it's from. Right. Normally you click on the profile and it comes up Midwest or EU or whatever. Fortunately, it's not coming up with anything.
Or any American state ever, because they get all 50 states and we don't even get every country. Whatever, iRacing, whatever. Onto the North side again for the leaders. Stephen Johnson is very much the cork in the bottle here. Kosick, Mull and Stas queuing up behind, and I would describe it as a queue actually at the moment. Johnson doesn't look quite as quick as the guys behind him.
No, not at the moment, but he's doing a great job as an AM, holding them on here. It's not technically him that's holding them up, it's Dan Kosick in that Ferrari. Everybody's grouped in behind. The Acura of Johnson is kind of keeping that 6th gap. So at the moment, it's kind of Kosick the cork in the bottle, but Stas and Mull have really got to clear Kosick because Johnson may just be able to get a little bit out of reach here. Anthony Solomon and Christopher Herring and Kubey have just gone past Chris Herring there. That's due to the fact he's just had an incident, but this is back here on the run into Aaron.
Here's a triple slipstream, I think you could say, for Corey Stas in the background, and he's certainly closest to Dave Mull at the moment, and to Schredenkurtz, the fast left-hander at the end of this straight, but he's not close enough through here. He did make a move into Arenberg on an AM earlier. Oh, but he's having a look here. That's a bit of a squeeze, and there's so nearly contact. Wow, Stas there was super close to Mull. And, well, great driving from the both of them to not hit each other, because that could have been really ugly down there.
Yeah, it could have been, and they did a great job keeping that away from each other. Stas is looking quick, mind you. Mull does look like he's got his hands cut out in that. His hands cut out? His work cut out, I should say. In that. Corey Stas, I was trying to say hands full with Corey Stas, and then I kind of combined the two sayings together, just like you combine names of people very well.
Thanks for that.
That's okay, no trouble. I'm not going down without you coming with me. As this guy's on the run here, Mull getting in behind that Ferrari as well.
Well, the four now getting ever closer, and this is something's got to give here now. Something has got to change here, otherwise there's going to be an incident, to be honest. Stas into the back nearly of Mull here, and Mesh is catching up as well. You can see it's costing them time here, and maybe Johnson's going to be a little bit concerned about the presence of Mesh not too far behind. I think if it ended right now, Johnson would maybe get ahead of Mesh in the championship, but don't quote me on that. It would be very close between the two of them, so Johnson would like it to stay the way that it is at the moment. It currently trails by 8 points, we saw at the top of the show, but Mesh is benefiting from this, that they're slowing each other down by battling like this.
Yeah, they absolutely are, and this is the thing. This is what happens though, isn't it? We've seen this so many times when you battle, that people then end up coming in behind you, and then you've ended up in a 5-car fight. But they're racing, so what are we expecting? They're only going to battle. So it's a really difficult one to sit back and go, oh, well, don't do this because look at going forward. But I've never seen a racing driver I'm able to stop fighting with.
Yeah, that was Mull again having a look in towards Bergwerk that time. He's got a better run as well on the Ferrari. Stas might well just hand back and watch this transpire, because he's not really quite as close this time round, but Mull certainly is to Kosick. Johnson's going to benefit from this as well, just get away a little bit now as some more homing in the background. Here we go up the hill. That Lamborghini not really getting anywhere in the slipstream. It is gaining a little bit, but I think in a dead heat, Ferrari would beat Lamborghini in the straight line speed stakes.
Yeah. I want to say yes, but I'm not entirely sure it would, to be honest, depending on what they've done with the car. If Mull's running that medium and the Ferrari's got a high on, then the Lambo should win, but generally, I don't know, to be honest with you, Ewan. Will the Ferrari outgun the Lambo?
That does matter as well. Okay, I'll be more specific then. Kosick's Ferrari would beat Mull's Lamborghini. Overall, don't know what the actual straight line speed would be as Stas gets all over the back of Dave Mull here. I'm not sure what it actually would be in a dead heat between if you left them standard, those two manufacturers, but Mull looked like he had the legs on sorry, Kosick looked like he had the legs on Mull there, because you've got to remember the Lamborghini's got the slipstream effect, which is actually more pronounced on that run up the hill because they're going uphill, and he gained about half a tenth, 1/10 throughout that whole straight. So we'll see what happens on the long back straight, but I'm not sure that was a particularly impressive run in a straight line there from him.
No, I think we're going to find out how they get on very shortly. This is going to be a freeway fight. I think Mull's going to get a draft off Kosick. Kosick's going to look to get hold of and keep hold of Johnson as much as he can. Misha's got a little bit back now from Chase Petterjohn. They're about 2.5 from this, so these guys really need to ease up and stop fighting to be able to catch back up to the guys that are. Continuing scrapping, Mull's in the wall. Oh, he's going to be in the middle of the track. He's going to be... Oh. We knew
Gets away with it.
Yeah, we said it was coming, no? We said it was coming.
And that is a real shame for Dave Mull in the wall, and we'll surely have to tow back to pit lane as well. Surely he's not going to get... might be driving to try and get it back, actually. He's got no rear wings, so he's going to be very slow on the way to pit lane. And unfortunately, he's going to drop a long way back. Dave Mull second in the championship, don't forget, to Jason Hightower, who's going to gain even more points than him here. And Parret's got to be really careful here that he doesn't crash into the back of a spinning Lamborghini in a moment, because that car's got no rear wing. And Mull's entering at high speed. Careful, that's good. Oh, no, it's only visual. Okay, he's still clearly got the downforce from that rear wing, even though it's not there.
No. Right, Kosick, here we go. This is going to be the run down of Dottingham.
Well, BMW versus Ferrari, we can start to draw up this time round. The BMW quite impressed me actually on the straight last time round against the McLaren of Pat Mish. See whether it's going to be impressive against the Ferrari or not as it comes down the straight. He's not getting anywhere at the moment. It's very tall, don't forget. He won't be getting a huge slipstream from the Ferrari, but now pulls alongside. It's taken quite a while. And you can see at the background that Petterjohn's struggling to get alongside Mish as well. He'll be getting a faint slipstream here, Kosick, from Stephen Johnson, but not that much. It's going to be pretty much a dead heat. And the BMW is finding this quite difficult. Down the straight, it's finding it difficult against the McLaren in the background as well. Into the Tirgon, and he's off. Kosick's off, and there's going to be contact so nearly. There's surely going to be contact again there. Let's see. Yes, there was.
Yeah.
Stas gets into the back, into the back of Stas, sorry, into the Tirgon. And it was always going to happen when they ran side by side through there. Unfortunately, they both dropped down the field.
Yeah, both of them unfortunately dropped off there. We just flicked. That was my fault. I just flicked to the battle behind because these guys were literally near enough nose to tail. And as we've done that, there was contact there as well. So unfortunately for them, we had a funny feeling it was going to come, right? And as soon as they started going too wide through Tirgon, I kind of knew something was going to happen.
Yeah, unfortunately, Kosick got into it. We'll again have a look at it at the end of the race. But Kosick just got slightly into the grass. Obviously, you can't brake when you're on the grass quite as effectively. And you're already on the brakes effectively there when you go through the first left-right. And unfortunately, Kosick got into the back of Stas as a result. So those two are now back to 10th for Kosick. Where's Stas got to? It's 15th again. He's back to where he started. That's going to be pretty annoying.
Yeah, that's going to be a kick in the teeth, isn't it? Let's be real about it for Corey Stas here. He just did all the hard work, made his way through. Should he have been more patient? And that's going to be the question that he would ask himself as well, whether or not he should have been a little bit more patient with that scenario. But I think overall he did what he needed to do and was racing. And now, unfortunately, all the way down in 15th.
Yeah, he certainly is. That is a real shame for Corey Stas, especially, who is down the field and into 15th. He might well catch up to these two, though. Steve Kube is on the recovery after his incident on lap number 1, and he's now trying to pass Anthony Solomon. He's going to find that pretty easy by the looks of things if Solomon's just going to give him the place, and he certainly does. So Steve Kube goes through, although he misjudges it and very nearly runs into the back of him. That's Kube up to 13th place. See how much further he can get up the field as well, as we're already into the second half of the race. Yeah,
on lap 3 already, and whether or not he's going to be able to stay with that Mustang. We did kind of mention how the Mustang might struggle. It's no surprise to see that these guys are down positions. Cabe's down 3. Sereno in the other Mustang is down 2. Obviously, died in pit lane, so it's a bit hard to try and fully judge on that. But I did wonder how they would get on at this circuit here, and they seem to be struggling like I expected.
Yeah, well, it's GT3s on the north side. It's about that time of year, isn't it? We're only a couple of weekends away from the Nurburgring 24 hours, I think. 2 weekends away, maybe. Anyway, yeah, it's coming up shortly, and GT3s on the north side are going to be seeing quite a lot in the next few weeks and months, I would expect, as Pat Mage makes her way down on the brakes at Arenberg, just in front of Chase Petterjohn in 8th position. Two of them nose to tail as it stands, but Mace looks like he's got the measure of Chase Petterjohn, to be honest. Even Johnson, though, is going to gain points further up the road from him, at least a couple, and so Mace's championship lead is certainly going to come down.
Yeah, Johnson's going to get the points out in front at the moment. He's only 3.5 seconds up the road, though, mind you, so he's not got a massive gap. He's just got to make sure and stay within his limits and manage that gap that he has got to Pat Misch. It's still around about 3 seconds at the moment. Cabay, however, has got the recovering. Oh no, he's still got no rear wing, as Dave Mole.
Yeah, he didn't come in for some reason. As I said at the time, he clearly doesn't have actually the effect of the rear wing loss. It's only visual. So he's been flying through these corners that you just would never be able to do if you didn't have the rear wing, and he just look a little bit more loose at the rear end, but certainly not as much as you would be if you had actually lost your rear wing. So Mull's got away with it effectively, but he's certainly slower than what he was before.
Are we taking into consideration from this that the Lambo's rear wing does nothing?
It does. It would make it more loose than that, let's put it that way.
So are you saying it does something or it does nothing?
Oh, clearly. I mean, because you can't drive actually normally with it without it. But I mean, yeah, this is, and also because he would have pitted, so it's clear. Yeah, he's not got the. It's sometimes in iRacing the rear wing just pops off, even if it actually hasn't sort of been damaged as much. If we were watching this live, I have a feeling that might have popped back on again in the way that sometimes the iRacing damage does. But no, we're in a replay and it hasn't popped back on again. But clearly he's got it.
Yeah. Clearly he has, but can't see it. So there you go. But there we go. See how they get on throughout the rest of the race here. But Cabay, seeing what the speed that Mustang's got, I reckon he would have had to whack high downforce thing on that to get that round here.
He's slightly wounded at the front left as well there. You can just see a bit more of that wheel than you should be able to. So that might have been in his incident earlier on. It was in the last sector of the first lap, and we'll look at it as always again at the end of the race. But he's slightly wounded as well. So two pretty wounded cars. First the Lamborghini, which is more obvious than the Mustang, but that was a better run for the Mustang through that high-speed left-hander at the Muck Curve. He's not able to get close enough this time though on Dave Mull, who's really the cork in the bottle here. Solomon's caught up and Corey Stas is catching up to them all here as well.
Yeah, Stas trying to come back obviously from his incident earlier on. Trying to wake his way back forward at the same time here as Stas. Not a million miles away.
Very wide.
Yeah, Cabay out, popped out of the carousel. That allowed Solomon to run through. Sereno's back in pit lane as well. Chris Heron jumped to the pits at here on lap 2. Had a couple of dramas going on. Up on that. So about 5 so far that we're going to have a look back at.
Yeah, we'll try and keep count. It is the run now into the final sector for these guys as Solomon looks left and right. Kubey as well, a little bit wide. Stas gets close, and surely this is going to all be settled on the Dodging a Horn now rather than beforehand. Look at this, they're queuing up, and Stas will be thinking, please get on with it here. I've got some more overtakes to make before the finish here. Solomon a little bit wide. Will Kume try and take advantage through the middle sector maybe, or the final sector, sorry. Inside line at Brunson. Oh wow, that was close. That was really close to contact, and Stas not able to take advantage. Maybe next corner, not quite. He's still stuck here.
Yeah, he's just going to have to wait. He's literally going to have to wait, Ewan, because this is the fast section of this circuit, if there is one. This is probably classed as the faster one. You know, it's all very fast, it's all very flowing. He's got to wait for Cabay to even make a mistake, preferably stay away from him. Now keeping it to the left-hand side, and now this is where they're just going to run here, because this is just a solid area. You can see it's just constant flat all the way through. Coming into the right-hander, hard on the brakes, getting it down. into fourth. He might take third here. Yeah, he did. Let it run, let it run. And away you go. Then third into the Klein. He's actually got second, which doesn't look like the best thing to have done there.
Yeah, he's missed it, and Corey's task goes straight through, so even before the straight. Now, will the BMW be repassed again by the Mustang, which I think will be better in a straight line? The McLaren's certainly going to be better than the damaged Lamborghini as well, as we cross onto the final lap of the race at the front. These four could be four wide down the straight here. They've all got good runs on each other. There goes Stas onto the side of Solomon here, who's not quite going to get alongside here the Lamborghini. He's just going to stay where he is. Look at that for the BMW. And here comes Coupe, making it three wide in the Mustang. Where's Stas going to go? He goes to the very left-hand side of the road. Mull can't move out any further to the right. He's going to be boxed in here, but Stas has probably played that as best as he possibly could. Give slipstream to the weakest of those in a straight line and make sure that nobody gets through on you. There goes the Lamborghini backing out, as you'd expect. Coupe gets past Solomon, who actually loses a place out of that, and Stas gains 3 places in the final part of the lap.
Yeah, that draft definitely played an effect, didn't it? Let's be real about it. It was definitely strong here as well. Oh, Coupe goes in pit lane.
Wow. That is a shame. I'm just surprised, to be honest.
I wonder what he did.
Yeah, don't know.
Find it.
Don't know what he did, to be honest with you. But we will find out. There's still loads of gravel at the turn 1 and 2. There must have been some practice and qualifying things going on there, because we haven't seen anybody go through the gravel or know of anybody who's gone through there on this occasion. But there you go. Coupe into the pit lane. To be honest, I think that's just damage, and just beg the question why he didn't just carry on with that damage, because Dave Mull's carrying on with worse damage. There's only 1 lap left after all.
Yeah, I don't quite understand why you would go in, but I'm just trying to find out. So leave it with me, and I'll hopefully see if I can get an answer before the end.
Yeah, all right. Well, that's going to drop Coupe down to the last of those who's still in the race. Christopher Heron and Anthony Sereno are both out of this race after 1 and 2 laps, respectively. Heron gave up after just the 1 lap. Sereno only just made it to halfway. So those two are going to finish in 19th and 20th, down towards the back end of the field. Mull still on the back of Solomon here, who's struggling a bit through the Grand Prix layout. Outside line for Mull, and through he goes into 13th position. So that's a good pass from that Lamborghini, which just looks strange still driving around like that, but he's clearly quicker than Anthony Solomon is, Dave Mull. Once we're into the corners, it's just on the straight line where the Lamborghini is damaged and wasn't very quick in a straight line to begin with.
Yeah, that's the thing with that Lamborghini. I've never driven it. Have you ever driven a Lambo? No, Senna, you only own the BMW, don't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of even any other Sims. I don't think I've driven a Lamborghini in any other Sims either. I prefer the look of the old Huracan, to be honest. I think this modern Evo version doesn't look quite as good as it used to, but anyway, that's by the... it doesn't really matter.
You'll get a new one at the end of next month, you'll be fine.
There isn't a new one in real life yet.
Do something.
The Lamborghini Gallardo GT3 was my particular favourite.
I love them as well. I saw it once in London in a yellow soft top. Oh, bro, it looks
I saw one in Nottingham, weirdly. Can't imagine there's many of those now.
They got that much money in Nottingham.
Somebody has. Not me, but...
No. They do look nice though, don't they? I think nowadays they're not as expensive as you'd think they were.
Oh, I bet they're too expensive for me though, but flipping heck.
Well, yeah, but that's not here nor there, is it? Let's.
No, thanks.
You'll be all right. Just get a mortgage, you'll be fine.
It probably costs that. Oh yeah, you're probably right. See, 80 grand. I'm looking at
64, 65. I'm looking at Lamborghini Gallardo.
All right.
Not too bad considering what they were. They were like 120 plus brand or something. So,
imagine what it would be to insure me on it though. Goodness me.
Oh yeah, because how old are you now?
22.
Oh my god, yeah, don't do it.
Still
89,900 euros. I don't know what that is, but you can get a Lamborghini Gallardo REX Reuter GT3 for 184,000 if you wanted a GT3 version.
That's not that bad actually. No, that's
He's thinking about it.
I'm thinking about it now.
I'll send you the webpage, mate, and then you can you can look at that.
Thanks. Yeah.
Approach your parents
Oh,
and
dear.
see what they turn around and say about it. See what happens.
Oh dear. Yeah. I mean, it's the car I would have chosen if
Yeah, I
you know
agree.
you know what
The yellow
when you're
one.
asked if you had unlimited money, what you would get. That's what I certainly would have got.
And do you know what's
10
worse?
years ago.
Is I always said a yellow Gallardo Spider soft top. And if you open that web link, the first one there is a £66,990 Gallardo Spider with a soft top.
I would get hard top in orange. That's what I get.
Ooh,
Okay.
oh, there's one on there. Gallardo V10 5.0 2004 for €84,000.
Thanks. Yeah, that's still out of the budget, but
What are you looking at? 84,000 pennies.
it's that'd be more ideal. But is anyone giving it away for free? Maybe. Anyway, that would be
I'll
ideal.
do your
Anyway,
broadcast for the next 20 years.
yeah. Well, is that going to cover it? For next?
I don't know. It depends.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh,
anyway, that's
Don't
it's
digress
the
this time.
race. Anyway, and we're in the final half of the lap actually as well, and the battle for second has unexpectedly cropped up here. Pat Mish versus Chase Petterjohn, and Chase Petterjohn's biggest fan at the moment is going to be Stephen Johnson, because they're 8 points apart in the championship, Mason Johnson, and if Petterjohn can get through, then that would help out the race leader very much.
Yeah, it would here. I think Johnson would be more than happy for him to go through. Let's just put it that way. So I think, but however, he hasn't got a greatest run out the carousel at the moment. So he's going to have to try and close back up. Sadler and Hesseling just had a swap of places, and that was Scott Sadler just go through. Kabai has unfortunately had an incident and has jumped back to pit lane. Steve Kabai, not gone too well for him this latter part of the race. This is watch out. He's got Dan Cossett for company, but Petterjohn and Mish back together. So going to be a lap run from these guys.
Yeah, that is going to be our first run to the flag, because the top six, are all running single file and on their own very much in the lead of this race. Jason Hightower at the very front is going to win again in this series. 2 in a row. That's 7 for the season out of 9. What an unbelievable season he's having. One of the best we've seen in the Tail Racing Ring Runners. That's why he's leading by 32 points. And that doesn't sound like a lot, but it is in this series point system. That is an awful lot of points to have to lose this championship from here. It is final corners though. Flanscotton for Chase Petterjohn and Pat Mace. You'd imagine Petterjohn's going to wait for the straight at the end here, but is that BMW strong enough in a straight line?
Well, we're going to find out, aren't we, very, very shortly here. The leaders are on their way down. We will pick up them, but just before they go, these guys are just about getting on now. Coming up into Klein. The BMW's got to bury this one. Got to be closer as well. It's not as strong a draft as I thought it would be. That's the weirdest thing, because once they get past, they go and hit a wall of air and they've got nothing there at all. But Hightower, leader of the race, who we haven't seen much of at all, is going to come over and win again.
What a unbelievable drive this has been from Jason Hightower again. Nearly 10 seconds. If you added together all the winning margins, by the way, I think you get into multiple minutes. He's done so well this season. Jason Hightower wins again, this time in the GT3s. The Tail Racing Ring Runners Championship surely is going to him in a few weeks' time. Further back, Stephen Johnson looks like he's going to win in the AM class, but who's going to finish second in behind him? He can't offer up a slipstream to either of them here, and Petterjohn might have left this a bit too late. His run out of Gammon might not have been quite good enough here as he comes down the hill now. Over the other side, it's going to have to be side by side into the Tiergarten at the very end of this race. Into the chicane they go, and it is side by side. They respect each other a little bit better than Stas and Kosick earlier. Inside for Petterjohn, too late on the brakes. Oh, and Mish goes too late as well. Not quite late enough though, and Mish will get second behind Stephen Johnson, who wins. Petterjohn will finish in third. Watchow will hang on from Kosick in the background as well by the looks of it. Kosick couldn't quite get close enough, and Perry couldn't get close enough to Stas either. In fact, that's Stas getting past Perry, I should say, into 11th position at the end for him.
Yeah, and there were some great runs down that final part. But I'm not surprised the Porsche couldn't clear the BMW or hold the BMW up. It hasn't got the most amount of top speed, as it. Solomon's going to come over the line as well. 16th and 17th look like they're getting... Oh no, it's closer on the track map than they are actually there. But there is Sadler. There is Hessling, and Dave Mole also had some form of drama on the final lap. So we'll have to keep going and have a look back at what Dave Mole got himself up to as well. But Scott Sadler's going to come over the line, 16th place.
Yep. It's excuse me. It's going to be a disappointing finish for Scott Sadler. What's been a difficult season, unfortunately, for Sadler. 6th place coming into this race here today. He will still be 6th at the end of it because Corey Stas and all of those ahead of him actually in the championship finished ahead of him. And most of those who are close in behind, like Dean Diltz, have not. Although Diltz was up in 3rd, maybe he will slip down to 7th, actually. Yeah, he will. Scott Sadler. It's going to be quite close anyway, but disappointing race for him. Out the front, it's been another great race for Jason Hightower. Wins by 9.4 ahead of Evan Crowder with Dean Diltz on the podium after a quiet race. Dave Fernandez and Matt Green also in the top 5. All of them in the top 5, quite quiet this afternoon, ahead of Stephen Johnson and Pat Maish. Then Chase Petterjohn on the podium in the AM class. Saw Mason Petterjohn had that nice run to the line. Watch Ewan. Kosick did the same. Corey Stas beat Paré to the line as well in a few great finishes down there. Then it was Anthony Solomon in 13th, ahead of Dave Mull and John Amico rounding out the top 15. Scott Sadler down to 16th, ahead of Dylan Hessling, the final driver to finish. Steve Kirby retired 1 lap from the finish. Sereno retired 2 laps from the finish. Aaron just retired 3 laps from the finish. Now then, time to have a look at a replay run through.
Yeah, we're going to start on lap 1. This is Scott Sadler and Dylan Hessling.
Okay. Might load in a second.
It's
a long time ago. Takes a bit of loading. This is what happened. Oh, wow, that's weird. Sadler with an incident a long way after the corner there. And Hessling basically coming to a stop to avoid it. What happened there?
Oh, curb.
One of those Audi spins, that.
Yeah. The loser Sadler got caught up there. Andy Sereno has got himself, unfortunately, in that Mustang. We did say the Mustangs have struggled. Whoa. Oh, bro, far too fast.
Hit the curb as well.
Comes to a direct stop to try and avoid it.
Hessling.
Is it Hessling in that one?
In the Mercedes, yeah. Hessling coming to a stop for the second time to avoid the crash. But that's the way to do it. Otherwise, he would have been involved in the crash as well. Unfortunately, it looks like he might have been involved in his own crash a little bit later on in that first lap, up over the inside curb and off a bit wide.
Yeah, and he's still going to run down the grass. Bring it back in, son. Now, this is Steve Cabay. Now, we said about he had damage on the car, and I've got a funny feeling it might have come from here because... Yeah, he scrapes the front as well, look. Unfortunately for him. And then he comes back on. Right, then we've got nothing right the way through till Chris Heron in that Haribo machine. Oh dear, you're already out of control, son.
Not that livery. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, this is going to be a big... Oh no, he did grab the wall.
He did grab the wall, but then he goes off a little bit further down, Ewan, and unfortunately this puts him back straight back in pit lane.
That's end of the day. So a little bit wide, would have been suffering with damage, and there's some more damage. Ouch, on the front end of that. Yeah, I really like that livery. Shame we didn't see more of it as he retired quite early on in the day. This is Kosick versus Petterjohn or Stas, sorry. Cast it in the grass, can't get it slowed in time. It's such a big braking zone that even that bit of grass so far before the break, what you'd think is the braking zone, actually does affect Kosick and it runs straight into the back of Stas.
Yeah, but then he goes off, I think. Oh no, this is part of the continuation of their incident. That's where they've done that. That's where they've done that. So this is Anthony Sereno who put himself back in pit lane with this. Oh my God, that's on the way down to Ironburg, isn't it?
Whoa.
Got far too fast.
Line was all wrong.
Yeah.
Oh no. Ouch.
If we can get that from not behind the tree.
Yes, this will do.
Oh, it's too, look at that, well out of control already. Bang. Ow. See why that was a pit lane, straight back to pit lane there as well. White flag, Steve Capay sent himself back to pit lane with this one after he went into pits.
I actually didn't think he'd actually re-emerge from the pit lane, but he did, and then did this. So into the wall, and well, he wasn't going to gain or lose any places anyway, so might as well retire in 18th position, and that was the end of him. This is Dave Mull. We didn't see how he lost his rear wing, actually. I don't know if it's not on your incident list, but Mull went for another spin at Hoeract a little bit later.
No.
No? Okay.
Did he just
It's
get
where
run out?
Hessling went off earlier. But
Where
obviously in the
something
separate
went off
incident,
here.
it was at this part of the racetrack, but I don't think it was involved. I don't think Moore was involved. It was certainly at this part of the racetrack. Don't know why it doesn't show up. It was a lap later than this, clearly, because he's still got his rear wing here.
Hold on. Got it there as
No,
well.
he's missing. I think it would have been. Yeah, we'll just rewind for a second. I think it was earlier this lap, and if it wasn't, then we've lost it, clearly. But was it? Yes, it was. Here we go.
There we go.
I thought he'd actually tow back to pit lane because of what happened, but it was all part of this really congested part of the field. And was it contact with Stas, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all a bobble over the curbs, but that wasn't the part that sent him into the barriers. It was Stas hitting him. So,
yeah.
well.
Yeah, I think actually that will give us a better view. Bonksy. Bonk.
I can't take more care than that.
Yeah, and then unfortunately just runs him over, and that's where he loses a wing. Then of course sends it back into pit lane. Now Chase Petterjohn, I don't know if the second flag. No, not. Where he went in too hot, isn't it? Bonksy. Oh.
Yeah, they both went in too wide. Actually, they're both nearly. Look at them in the barrier together there out of the final corner. Dear me.
That's
But,
it.
there you go. That's how that was sorted, and that's the end of the run through. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that, to be honest. It was GT3 racing, yes, but so many people here means that we got so many different battles, and free runs to the line there, for example. It was a good finish to the race, and there's so many battles to have a look at over the course of the race.
Yeah, it was good. I'll give you that. It was interesting and exciting, but GT3.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, only in Europe. Like Sebring. I love Sebring, you don't.
Yeah, Sebring's worse than GT3s, that's for sure. So there you go. But yes, we're not going Sebring on this calendar, as you may have noticed. Instead, we're going to be doing the longest of the layouts actually in next week's race. That will be the Nissan ZX-T GTP. That is going to be one to look forward to. Another strange car in some ways, and so maybe that will provide some of the best racing, because certainly the strange cars have been providing the good racing so far this season. But that's it for round 9 of the Tower Racing Ring Runners in Season 10. We'll be back with that race in 7 days' time, of course, when the next round is completed. I've been Ewan Lee alongside James Parfitt. Until we see you for the Nissan ZX-T GTP next week, it's goodbye for now.
Thank you.